Hello dear students. This presentation of Transportation Engineering 1 covers certain topics from Module 4. The topics are Let's start with flexible or bituminous pavement construction. You know the flexible pavement layers which are subgrade, granular subbase or drainage layer, granular base course, bituminous binder course and bituminous surface course. Now we are going to see how each of these layers are constructed step by step. First is the steps for construction of highway subgrade. So subgrade is made up of soil. So the soil has to be spread to the required grade, that is level, and cross slope, which is the camber, in the desired thickness using an equipment such as a grader, which is the equipment which is used to spread soil on the site. Water is sprayed so that the optimum moisture content of the soil is maintained, and then the water sprayed soil is mixed and the soil is again spread uniformly according to the thickness which is required for the subgrade, and then the soil layer is compacted to the specified density. After compacting this layer, again another layer of soil is added on top of this layer and water is sprayed and compacted. This procedure continues until the required thickness of the subgrade is attained. In the pavement design, you have seen that for different layers of the flexible pavement, you find out the thickness. So that is the thickness of the subgrade which is mentioned here. In this image, you can see the construction of highway subgrade. You can see that the soil is spread and then water was sprayed and then again mixed, and again it is being spread or rolled using a grading equipment. Next is the construction method for the GSB layer or granular subbase layer or the drainage layer. First, you have the subgrade in the site. Now you have the subgrade which is have the required thickness, then it has the cross slope, it is at the required level. So the first step is that the surface of the subgrade has to be checked. If there is any vegetation it should be removed, and also grade and cross slope should be checked and maintained. Then the subbase material, usually that is coarse aggregates, it is spread over the subgrade surface, and optimum moisture content is maintained by adding water and mixing it with the subbase material. Then it is again spread using a grader to the desired thickness of the layer, and then the layer is compacted using a roller. So if the thickness required is 100 mm or less, we use a smooth wheeled roller, and if the thickness required is greater than 100 mm and up to 225 mm, we use a vibratory roller of weight 10 tons. And this rolling procedure, that is the compacting procedure using the roller, starts from the lower edge of the pavement. Lower edge means the edge closer to the shoulder. Then it proceeds towards the center of the road. And with each rolling movement, there will be 1/3 overlap of the previous rolled section. So every section will be rolled with a 1/3 overlap. So first section of rolling starts from the edge of the pavement closer to the shoulder, and it extends to the rolling process extends up to the center of the carriageway. Rolling is continued at least 98% of the maximum density of the subbase material is achieved. In this image, you can see that there is a subbase material spread over the subgrade layer, prepared subgrade layer, and it is being graded and compacted using a motorized grader. Next, you have the base course. Wet mix macadam base course is common, and wet mix macadam consists of well graded hard crushed aggregates along with water. So the mix of aggregates and water is prepared and it is spread using a paver finisher machine to the required thickness, grade and cross slope, and then the layer is compacted using a vibratory roller. The compaction process is done layer by layer and each layer should be less than 200 mm. Suppose from the design you obtain that you need 400 mm of base course thickness. What you do is you compact the base material as 2 layers of 200 mm thickness each. So compacted thickness of each layer should be less than 200 mm. So if you need a base course of thickness 500 mm, you have to do it as 3 layers of thickness 200 mm, 200 mm and 100 mm. The compaction procedure should not be for a layer of thickness greater than 200 mm. You have to do it in stages or multiple layers for the base course. Rolling is done in a process similar to the sub-base course, that is, it starts from the edge of the pavement, from the shoulder to the center of the carriageway, and every rolled section should have a 1/3 overlap with the previous section. Then wet mix macadam layer is dried for at least 24 hours before it is opened. Wet mix macadam layer is not allowed for traffic to operate over it. This image shows a wet mix macadam base course which is being graded by a paver machine. Next you have the construction of bituminous binder course which comes over the wet mix macadam base course. So first we saw the preparation of the subgrade, over that comes the granular subbase or drainage layer, over that came the wet mix macadam base layer. Now comes the layer just below the surface course, that is the bituminous binder course. So this course is to be laid by after patching the potholes and depressions on the base layer. Wet mix macadam base layer is there and that is the layer which comes below the binder course. So first we have to level or patch and compact the surface of the base course. Surface is cleaned with a broom and all loose materials are removed. Then we apply the prime coat and tack coat. Prime coat and tack coat are bituminous layers which are done by or which are formed by spraying bitumen over the base course. The purpose of applying a prime coat or tack coat, that is the purpose of applying bitumen over the base course, is that it will give a good adhesion between the base course and the bituminous binder course, because the bituminous binder course has bituminous content and the base course doesn't have any bitumen content. So between these two layers there need to be a strong adhesion. For that we provide a bituminous coating. That coatings are called prime coat and tack coat. Then you have the bituminous mix which is prepared in the hot mix plant, and okay, this is transported to the construction site in a truck and it is spread using a mechanical paver. And rolling starts soon after laying the mix, because the hot mix from the plant that has a certain temperature which helps us to lay and compact the mix. As soon as the mix gets colder, the mix is no more workable. That is, we cannot place and compact the mix easily if the temperature, if it cools down. So before it cools down, it has to be brought down to the site. It has to be spread on the base layer and it has to be rolled and compacted. Next stage is that how the compaction is done by three process. That is a breakdown rolling using a heavy static roller, then the intermediate rolling using pneumatic tired roller, then the final rolling using a light roller. And rolling operation is similar to what we have seen in the sub-base and base courses, that is the 1/3 overlap of the rolling sections, and rolling starts from the edge closer to the shoulder to the center of the carriageway, and it must continue till 98% of the laboratory density is obtained. Then surface finish of the rolled pavement layer is checked and corrected. So this image shows a bituminous binder course which comes over the base course, which is being rolled and compacted. You can see that the layer is black in color, which is not the case of base course or sub-base course or subgrade. The color of the bituminous binder layer is due to the presence of the bitumen in the mix. Next is the construction steps for surface dressing. So for the surface dressing, you need to patch the portholes and compact them which are present on the surface of the bituminous binder course, and then this work of surface dressing or bituminous surface course is done only during the dry weather. If you are using a bituminous emulsion in the bituminous surface course, bituminous emulsion is a mix of bitumen and a volatile component like kerosene. So it will be in a liquid form always. It won't solidify when cooled down. So if we are using bitumen as such, we should use it in the dry weather, and if we are using bituminous emulsion for surface dressing, we can use it also when there is moisture in the atmosphere or in damp conditions. Then the surface is cleaned to remove all the loose materials and dust. Again, prime coat is applied for better bonding between the bituminous binder course and the bituminous surface dressing. Then the bituminous binder of specified grade is heated, and then it is sprayed using a mechanical sprayer on top of the prime coat. Then the aggregate for surface course is spread uniformly using a mechanical spreader, and then the aggregate layer is rolled using a pneumatic tired roller of weight 6 to 8 tons. Using a pneumatic tired roller or a smooth wheel roller which is weighing 6 to 8 tons. Then you have the surface finish checking, which can be done using a straight edge. Straight edge is a device which is similar to your ruler, steel ruler. So, and also surface finish is checked along with transverse profile, which is checked at every 10-meter intervals. Transverse profile is the level in the transverse direction, and the finished surface may be open to traffic only after a minimum period of 24 hours after the final rolling process. So this image shows you the bituminous surface dressing process being completed by rollers. So next comes the failures in flexible pavements and rigid pavements. First, let's see the failures in flexible pavements. First type of failure you have is the potholes, which are small bowl-shaped holes which are formed generally after the rains on the surface. You may have seen a lot of potholes on our roads in Kerala. We have it in urban roads and rural roads. Mostly it is formed on the road surface after the rains. So you know the cause. The cause may be due to water stagnation on the surface of the pavement. When water stagnates, bitumen will be stripped from the aggregates. When bitumen is stripped, aggregates are removed from the surface and big holes are formed there. So this may be due to the inadequate compaction and also due to the presence of some weak material, that is aggregate or bitumen, which is not having the specifications as specified in the construction manual. And also if the potholes are left unattended as such, that is if we are not repairing the road with the potholes, these holes will become larger in size due to the action of traffic, that is moving vehicles, and water. So potholes must be rectified or filled as soon as possible. So this image shows some potholes on the road surface. You can see that they are very big and there are many in number, and loose aggregates are spread over the surface. That is, bitumen was stripped off from the aggregates and some weak materials, weak aggregates or bitumen, something was present in that part of the pavement, so that material got removed. Maybe the compaction was inadequate, maybe. causes for development of potholes are stagnation of water. Next is ingress of water, that is water penetrating into the pavement layers. Also improper application of prime coat or tack coat. You know that prime coat or tack coat is the bituminous layer which is present between the base and binder course, and also it is present between the binder course and the base course. So if that bonding layer is not there, aggregates may get removed, stripped off easily or detached easily from the pavement surface. Also insufficient bitumen content. Then segregation of the bituminous mix while the bituminous mix is laid. When you spread the bituminous mix or the aggregates for laying the base course or the bituminous binder course or surface course, the mix gets segregated. That is, the mix has bitumen content and aggregate content. So the aggregate content goes to one side and the bitumen content flows to another side. So there is a segregation of material which leads to a non-uniform mix, which can cause the formation of potholes, and also presence of weak spots in any of the pavement layers. Patching of potholes is a very easy procedure. The first step is marking a rectangle of slightly larger size around the pothole. Okay, you have seen it in the figure above. They have marked around the a rectangular area around the pothole, then cutting around the pothole to rectangular shape. They have cut in the marked area, and then cleaning and removing all materials. Then they applied the tack coat, that is the bonding coat, and then they filled up the pothole with dense bituminous premix. And the mix is compacted using a suitable roller and leveled, and it is open to traffic after prescribed curing period. This is the simple step of patching of potholes. Next failure in flexible pavement is isolated cracked areas. That is, some areas in the pavement which are cracked. Cracks may develop due to the passage of heavy vehicles. Also, these cracks or depressions in the surface, if it is not rectified or it remains unattended, water will stagnate in these depressions and it will lead to crack widening or any other type of failure in that area. The rectification of isolated cracked areas is identical to patching of potholes. That is, you have seen earlier, that is cutting the rectangular area, cleaning it, applying the mix and rolling. Next type of failure in the flexible pavements are localized depressions due to settlement. That is, some areas will have depressions due to settlement of lower layers. That is, the surface course will experience a settlement at a particular isolated area or local area due to the settlement of the binder course or the base course or the sub base course, or it may be the subgrade also. Once one layer settles, all the layers above it settles. It will be due to inadequately compacted pockets. If some layer portion is not compacted properly, the density won't be the highest or maximum density which is found from the laboratory. So as traffic loads move over that inadequately compacted area, the layer densifies and settling occurs. This settling is reflected to all the layers which are above the settled layer. Also, you have the localized depressions formed due to laying of the surfacing course by manual method, because if the layer is compacted using manual method, it won't be proper. You need a mechanized roller and for spreading and compacting. And these localized depressions lead to poor riding quality and stagnation of water on the surface of the pavement. In this figure, you can see there is a particular area of the pavement which is depressed, and you can see in this depression there is chance of water stagnation, and also the riding quality, that is when vehicle wheels move over this depression, the riding quality is decreased, or there is discomfort or fatigue for the passengers. Next type of failure of pavement is raveling. Raveling is the disintegration of the surface due to bitumen binder failing to bind the aggregates. This is somewhat similar to the pothole formation. This is caused due to construction during wet weather conditions, that is presence of moisture attacking the bitumen binder and causing the aggregates to detach from the pavement surface. Also delayed rolling, that is the mix is not hot when it is compacted, it is cooled down, that we talked about in the construction process. That is, once the hot mix is brought to the site, it must be spread, rolled and compacted as soon as possible without allowing it to cool down. Then insufficient binder content to bind all the aggregates. Then improper gradation of aggregates, that is, there will be the aggregate sample is not of the specified gradation, so there can be voids or pockets in the layer. And also overheating of the binder, which causes hardening of the binder, so binder cannot spread or coat the aggregates and bind them efficiently. This is an image of raveling. You can see that the binder is stripped off due to some causes like inadequate content of binder or water stripping, and aggregates are removed from the surface. Here large holes are not formed. If large holes were formed, we would call them portholes. Here aggregates were removed from the surface over a large area, not in a greater depth, but from a larger area, bitumen is stripped off and aggregates are removed. So this type of failure is called raveling. Next you have rutting, which is the longitudinal deformation formed due to repeated application of loads along the wheel path of heavy vehicles. So causes of rutting are inadequate stability of the pavement layer, that is inadequate strength. Stability refers to strength. Then inadequate compaction of any of the pavement layers, channelized movement of heavy wheel loads, that is heavy vehicles always moving through the same part of the road. So if all the heavy vehicles move through the same path on the road, that path will experience more wheel load and more stress, so that part will gradually settle down. There will be a channel formed. That channel is called rutting. Then also due to improper specification or design of bituminous mix, and also inadequate thickness of the flexible pavement to sustain the heavy wheel loads. So here you can see an image of rutting, that is along the longitudinal direction there is a depression or channel formed, and you can see at the end of the road a truck is moving along the same wheel path. So this is the longitudinal deformation, which is called rutting, which is usually found along the wheel path of heavy vehicles. Next type of failure in flexible pavement is the corrugation. So corrugations are shallow undulations in the form of ripples. Ripples are waves with a depth of up to 25 mm. These ripples are in the transverse direction, that is along the width of the pavement. They may be formed at about 2 to 3 meter intervals. The formation of corrugations are due to excess binder content. If more binder content is there in the mix is more softer. Less aggregates and more binder is there, the mix becomes softer, and when loads move over the surface, it will start flowing. Also due to excess proportion of fines. Then use of binder of low viscosity. Highly viscous means the binder will be thick. Low viscosity means binder will be easily flowing. Also use of smooth textured or rounded aggregates. Smooth textured or rounded aggregates won't have any interlocking, so the mix won't be mix will have less stability than when compared to using angular aggregates. In pavement we have to use angular aggregates always. Then initial undulations due to improper laying. During the laying procedure, some undulations remains on the pavement surface. Those can be counted as corrugations. Then oscillations and impact, which is caused by the movement of the traffic. All these are reasons for formation of corrugations. You can see the corrugations in the transverse direction in the pavement. So this is a wavy surface or wave-like appearance. Next is the edge breaking failure in flexible pavements. So soil from the shoulder, that is two sides of the pavements, two edges of the pavements are supported by the shoulders. So soil from these shoulders get eroded due to flow of water during rains. There is a rain which falls over the pavement will run off or get drained onto the shoulder surface, and the soil from the shoulder is eroded or removed. So this soil which gets removed causes a formation of edge drop, that is soil from the shoulder is removed, so shoulder level goes down. So there is a process called edge drop which results in lack of lateral support for the bituminous surfacing and maybe also the other pavement layers. You know that the shoulder is the structure which provides lateral support to the pavement layers. If the shoulder is removed, there is no lateral support to the bituminous layers. So if there is no lateral support, there will be breaking up of edges of the pavement, and also through these edges water can infiltrate and damage the pavement layers further. So this you can see it clearly, that is the runoff water from the pavement surface move towards the shoulder, and from here the water erodes the soil and takes the soil away. So the shoulder level goes down. As the shoulder level goes down, there is no lateral support to the bituminous surface course and the other layers below. So the lateral support is removed and the edge of the pavement is broken down, and through this water can enter the pavement structure and damage it further. Next you have the alligator cracking or map cracking. Alligator cracks or map cracks are extensive cracks which are interconnected, many cracks interconnected in block shape. This resembles the skin of an alligator or a crocodile. That's why this extensive cracking in a block shape is called alligator cracking or map cracking. So this is formed due to the repeated application of wheel loads on weak pavements. And as the cracking goes on, if we do not rectify the cracks, it gets spread to a larger area. And development of alligator cracking is also indication of fatigue failure of flexible pavements. So in this image you can see how alligator cracking is, that is there are many number of cracks in both like two directions, and then they form block like shapes. Most of the cracks are like interconnected or crossing each other, and they form many block like shapes. This may extend over a very large area. You can see in the image, see here you can see that there are a large number of cracks crossing each other in perpendicular directions or oblique directions, and it extends over a large area. It resembles the skin of an alligator. Next is the wavy surface, which is similar to corrugations, but the deformations will be large in dimension. In corrugation, the deformation or the ripples were smaller in proportion, but here deformations or the ripples will be larger, and the riding quality is adversely affected. The causes of formation of a wavy surface on the flexible pavement are inadequate compaction of the subgrade, then highly compressible soil in the subgrade, then excessive moisture in the subgrade, then frost heaving, which you have seen in the previous videos, and inadequate pavement thickness for the traffic loads. This is an image of a wavy surface. You can see waves here. They are not as close as the corrugations, but the ripples are larger in size, so the riding quality will be affected. The cause of wavy surface was seen as mostly moisture in subgrade or inadequate compaction of subgrade. That is, as soil settles due to moisture or inadequate compaction, the layers above it also settles, and there is a wavy shape on the top surface of the pavement. Next is the shear failure, which are of two types. Type 1, which extends overall over the pavement structure, and that is indicated by large depression or settlement and upheaval. That is, one section settles down, one section remains above it. So through pavements which have undergone shear failure, it is impossible for traffic to operate, because the two sections are separated by the settlement or the upheaval, and they occur in very weak pavements laid on poor subgrade soil with high moisture content. These failures are seen commonly along the wheel paths of heavy vehicles. So next type is the shear failure only occurs in the bituminous surface course. That is, here the shear failure occurs due to the weak subgrade. So all the layers above the subgrade is subjected to the shear failure. So the overall pavement structure is subjected to shear failure. That is type 1. In type 2, only the surface course has experienced a shear failure. All the other layers remain as such without deformation. Small size depression and upheaving of the surface course can be seen in type 2 shear failure. So here you can see large depression. So here there is settlement. This section has settled down. This section is upheaved. So this is not only for the surface course, but you can see the layers below the surface course have also experienced this, and the depression is very large, the upheaval is very large. So this is type 1 shear failure, where the subgrade was weak or the excessive moisture content of the subgrade has led to settlement or compaction, and all the layers of the pavement are subsequently settled, and there is a total shear failure of the pavement structure. Then there are reflection cracks, that is, crack pattern on a bituminous surface course is almost same pattern as the cracks in the layer below the surface course. That is, we can see some cracks over the surface course, and these cracks are of the same pattern or are the reflection of the cracks on the layer supporting the surface course. So because of this reason, it is also called sympathetic cracks. So if they are not properly treated, that is, mostly this occurs in conditions where we have one existing cracked bituminous surface and we apply a resurfacing over it. So if the cracked bituminous surface was not repaired and the overlay or resurfacing was done, the crack in the lower layer will get reflected in the top layer also. So the cracked bottom layer must be milled and removed before construction of the overlay or the resurfacing. So if there is an existing cracked pavement, we have to mill and remove the cracked portion. Milling means grinding the material and removing it before the construction of the overlay. Overlay is the bituminous resurfacing or the new surface given for the old pavement. So if we don't remove the cracks in the old pavement, that cracks will get reflected in the new top layer. And this type of cracks are most common in bituminous pavements constructed over rigid or semi-rigid pavements, because you know that in rigid pavements there are a lot of joints, expansion joints, longitudinal joints, contraction joints. So along these joints, the bituminous overlay or the bituminous layer constructed above the rigid pavement will be cracked. You can see the image of this. This is a bituminous pavement. You can see by the color of the pavement, and they have cracks along longitudinal direction and transverse direction. So, and between these cracks you can see a huge block shapes. So it is clear that these cracks are the reflection of the cracks along the contraction and expansion and longitudinal joints of the rigid pavement, which is present below this bituminous pavement layer. This image shows the reflection cracks. That is, you can see at the bottom a pavement section, there is a failed cement concrete pavement at the bottom which has some cracks. So those cracks were not rectified or filled, and a bituminous overlay or a resurfacing was done, and the cracks from the cement concrete pavement is reflected in the same way in the bituminous overlay above the failed pavement. So this is how reflection cracks occur. This is a illustration of the reflection cracks. Next type of failure in flexible pavement is a detachment of bituminous surfacing from base course. So the bituminous surface is laid over a bituminous binder course or a old base course or something, And above the base course, before we apply the bituminous binder course or the surfacing, we apply a tack coat. So if this tack coat is not applied, or if it is not applied uniformly, or over the tack coat if some dust was present or some waste material was present, the binding will be affected. There won't be a complete binding of the two layers, that is the base course and the bituminous surfacing or bituminous binder course will not be bonded properly. So there will be detachment of surface layer from the base course. This will usually take place when there is rain, that is due to the attack of moisture. The loosely bond area between the layers will be more loose and the surface course will be detached from the base course. Here you can see that there is a bituminous surface course. Below that surface course you have the base course or the binder course, whatever. Here you have to apply the tack coat. Here during the construction process, this area was not properly applied with tack coat or sprayed with bitumen. So there was no binding between the surface course in this area and the base course. So due to lack of binding, the surface course got detached or removed from the base course. Next is the failures in rigid pavements. So the first type of failure in rigid pavement is mud pumping, that is a mix of soil and water getting pumped or ejected out through the cracks in the rigid pavements. This mostly occurs due to the water which is present under the rigid pavement, that is through the joints or cracks in the cement concrete pavement. Water enters the space between the subgrade and the cement concrete slab. So this water gets mixed up with the soil particles and form mud or soil slurry, and that gets ejected out. Mostly this occurs due to heavy vehicle movement, because as heavy vehicle moves over the slab deflects, and these deflection cause the subgrade to subgrade to settle. So in that settlement there will be some gap. There water will stagnate in a large amount and mud or slurry gets accumulated and it gets churned and ejected out. Okay, factors initiating the mud pumping process are weak pavement structure, that is the cement concrete slab is weak, then subgrade soil has small fine particles which can be easily mixed with water, and ineffective drainage, that is the water on the pavement surface is not drained off but it percolates the slab or the top layer or the surface layer and gets accumulated in the gap in the subgrade layer. So this diagrams explains the mud pumping process, that is the CC pavement which has the crack or the joint through which the water enters in the muddy area. So here there is mud, that is soil with excess fines or silt or clay. The water mixes with it. Then when heavy vehicles move, the slabs get deflected, more water comes inside, more slurry is formed, and also again when the heavy vehicles move, the slurry gets ejected or pumped out through these gaps or cracks, and there is mud spread over the rigid pavement surface. Here you can see the image of a cement concrete pavement. You can make out that it is a cement concrete pavement because of the presence of the longitudinal joint and the contraction joints and expansion joints, which I am pointing out here. So you can see that there is mud and water mix or slurry coming out from the gaps everywhere near the cracks. So this image clearly shows what is the process of mud pumping. Next is the development of structural cracks in rigid pavement. Structural cracks generally develop on the pavement slab near the edge and corner area due to wheel loads and warping stresses. You know, warping stresses are bending stresses due to temperature variations, seasonal and daily temperature variations. Also there may be weak spots in the subgrade, and there will be settlement of the subgrade or the bottom layers, and this will cause the development of structural cracks in the rigid pavement slab. And there may be another cause also, that is the inadequate thickness of the slab to sustain the heavy wheel loads. So due to the presence of the structural cracks, the riding surface becomes very unsatisfactory. Next type of failure in rigid pavement is a scaling. Scaling is the surface phenomena where the cement mortar gets detached or peeled off from the cement concrete pavement slab. So this peeling off of mortar is due to the deficiency in the mix or the presence of some chemical impurities. If the water cement ratio is high, the mortar gets segregated and the mortar can be easily peeled off from the surface. That is excess water. If the water cement ratio is high, means water will be in excess, and this water will come to the top of the cement slurry, and this can easily get peeled off. And this peeled off surface or scaled surface give a rough and shabby appearance to the pavement surface. So this is an image of the scaling of cement concrete pavements. Next is raveling. In raveling, there is loss of fine aggregates and hardened cement paste from the surface due to abrasion. Okay, raveling is same what we have seen in the flexible pavements. That is, fine aggregates are lost from the pavement surface along with hardened cement paste, and the cause of that in flexible pavement was stripping of bitumen from the aggregates. Here it is due to abrasion. Also, raveling gives a rough surface for the pavement, and it is caused due to inferior quality of the cement concrete mix, and also it can be rectified by providing a thin layer of bituminous mix over the cement concrete pavement slab. Next is spalling of joint. Spalling of joint is the displacement or dislocation of the filler board which is placed in the joints. You have the expansion, contraction and longitudinal joints in the rigid pavements or between the rigid pavement slabs. So these joints will be filled with a filler material. So during construction process, these fillers in the joints may get dislocated. So this dislocated fillers may cause cracks, and the edges of the pavement slabs, cement concrete slabs, may develop cracks, and also material might be lost or chipped off from the edges at the joints. This is a spalled joint. You can see longitudinal and transverse cracks in the pavement here. This is a longitudinal crack, longitudinal joint. This is the transverse joint, and at the joint you can see that the edges of the slabs are broken or cracked. This is because the spalling has occurred. There is a dislocation or detaching of the filler material of the joint. Next is the functional deterioration. Among the failure, you have structural deterioration and functional deterioration. Till now we have seen some failures of the rigid pavements. Now you will see the functional deterioration of cement concrete pavements. First one is surface unevenness or roughness, which can be good if the unevenness index is less than 2200 mm per kilometer. The unevenness or roughness is average if the unevenness index or roughness index is 2200 to 3000 millimeters per kilometer, and poor if it exceeds 3000 millimeter per kilometer. Okay, so to obtain an even or very even pavement surface, you can use modern construction equipments. With that you will obtain a pavement surface which is even or uniform, and the unevenness index may increase due to settlement of pavement layers or embankments, and also evenness can be improved by diamond grinding or grinding of the pavement surface can improve the unevenness index. Loss of joint sealant, that is, we talked about spalling of joints. There is a dislocation of the filler board material in the joints. Similar to that, the joints will have sealers which may be subjected to very harsh conditions. So this sealing material has to be removed and resealed if they are affected very badly. So you can use polysulfide sealants which have life up to 5 to 7 to years, and silicone sealants which have life up to 10 years. Then next type of failure in the rigid pavements, you have the shrinkage cracks. That is, there are two types of shrinkage cracks: plastic shrinkage cracks and drying shrinkage cracks. Plastic shrinkage cracks are those which are formed due to rapid drying of the fresh concrete. So here they can be prevented by measures for curing of concrete. That is, without letting them dry, you can cure or keep the concrete moist, and also if there are any cracks, they can be sealed using epoxy resin of low viscosity. Then drying shrinkage cracks are formed due to shrinking of the cement concrete mix, or shrinking means reduction in volume between the supporting layer and bottom of the slab. So as the slab is constructed over the supporting layer, if the concrete starts shrinking or drying, there will be shrinking cracks at the bottom of the slab near the supporting layer, and these start from the bottom of the slab, and these cracks extend upwards to the pavement surface. So these shrinkage cracks can be properly rectified by constructing or designing contraction joints in a better way. Next is the loss of surface texture, that is smoothing of the cement concrete pavement surface, which becomes slippery under certain wet conditions. So pavement structure should have certain amount of friction for safe movement of traffic. If it is not having any friction, then during wet conditions it's very risky to travel over that pavement. So causes of poor loss of texture are enough texturing was not done during construction. Whereas during construction the pavement surface was made very smooth, which is a false or faulty procedure of construction. Then the surface texture got abraded due to the wear and tear, and it became smooth, or due to the construction traffic. Construction traffic refers to the graders, rollers and heavy equipments moving over the pavement surface during the road construction process. And also there may be road stretches with frequent braking or turning movements, that is heavy wheel loads moving constantly, so that the road surface becomes extra smooth. And also use of non-durable materials, that is if the aggregates having low value of abrasion resistance are used in case of surface course, the smoothing can happen, or the wear and tear can happen in a very quick manner. Surface texture can be represented by mean texture depth and also frictional resistance or skid number. And texture can be made rough from smooth by the process of grinding, diamond grinding or groove cutting. Last topic is highway drainage. Highway drainage is the process of removing and controlling excess surface and subsurface soil water within the roadway. So there are two types of drainage, that is surface drainage to remove the surface water, and subsurface drainage to handle the water below the ground level, such as the ground water in the capillaries, voids, or water that is present in the groundwater table. So surface drainage enables to drain the water from the pavement surface, and this water is carried away to the side drains. Subsurface drainage deals with the water which seeps down from the pavement surface to the layers below. And subsurface drainage system helps in lowering the groundwater level, and also it helps to control the capillary rise of water. Importance of highway drainage are that is what is the need of removing water or draining of water from the pavement, because if water is stagnating or penetrating into the pavement layers, the stability of the soil subgrade can be lost. The thickness of the pavement structure may not be adequate, because as water enters, soil and other layers becomes weaker and the thickness won't be enough to sustain the traffic loads, and also water will damage all the pavement structure and the pavement component material strength will be reduced, and also the supporting layers will experience swelling and shrinkage. That is, when moisture is absorbed, there can be increase and reduction in volume or densification, and development of undulations on roadway surface in the form of rutting that can also occur in presence of water. Some more points for importance are that the contact of water causes stripping of bitumen from the pavement layers. It causes mud pumping due to the water stagnation below the cement concrete slab. It causes landslides due to a reduction in soil strength of the slopes. Also, it causes frost action in freezing temperatures, and also moisture causes soil erosion from the unsurfaced roads, that is unpaved roads or earth roads, and slopes and shoulders also. Following are the requirements of a highway drainage system. So surface water should be carried away from the carriageway and shoulder, and it should be drained off without allowing it to percolate the subgrade. And also the water from the adjoining land of the roadway should be prevented from entering the pavement. So the side drain should have sufficient capacity and slope to carry the surface water away, and also the flow of water should not cause any erosion in the road and shoulders. And also seepage and other sources of underground water should be efficiently drained off by the subsurface drainage system. That is, water which has already percolated the pavement, that should be drained by the subsurface drainage system. And also highest level of groundwater table should be kept at least 1.2 meters below the level of the subgrade, so that the water from the groundwater table would not attack the subgrade soil. And in waterlogged areas, special precautions should be taken for presence of detrimental, that is dangerous salts, which can affect the pavement structure. So there are some components of the surface drainage system. First component is the camber, that is the cross slope of the pavement surface. You already know that camber is depending upon the type of pavement surface and amount of rainfall. Values of camber range from 1 in 25 or 4% for earth roads, and 1 in 60 or 1.7% for bituminous surface or cement concrete pavements. Water which is drained from the pavement surface is drained because of the presence of the cross slope or the camber, and they move across towards the shoulder and then goes down into the roadside drains. So the side drains, in the side drains, the surface water coming from the pavement surface is collected. So in case of rural areas, we will have open drains, which are also called unlined or kacha drains. And also in areas where there is restriction of space, especially in cuttings, roads constructed in cuttings, so there will be restriction of space, and so what is done is trenches are made, and they are filled with coarse sand and gravel to form covered drains. So wherever there is restriction of space in case of a cutting, drainage trenches are arranged with covered drains. On urban roads, there is limitation of land width, presence of footpath, dividing islands, etc. So many entities are there. So what we need to do is we need to provide underground drains between the pavement and the curb for short distances. And this water may be collected in catch pits at suitable intervals, and then they will be removed out through underground drainage pipes. This image shows a cut slope, a pavement in a cut slope. So space is limited, so here you should have a drain. So what they do is they form a trench and they make a covered drain, that is a drain filled with layers of gravel and filter sand. And this is a figure of the surface drainage system. On urban roads, you have the road here, you have the footpath here, you have the curb here. So between the curb and the pavement, the water from the pavement flows down through the camber or the cross slope and reaches the drainage roadside drain between the curb and the pavement, and it goes down through the manhole, and there is a longitudinal drain pipe fixed at the bottom at the required slope for draining the water efficiently. The last component of the surface drainage system is the cross drainage. Cross drainage structures can be culverts or small bridges. They collect water from natural valleys or streams and dispose off to the natural course again. So some types of culverts are slab culverts, box culverts, and pipe culverts. And these culverts extend up to the full formation width, and at the ends these culverts or drainage structures are protected by abutments and parapet walls. So if the cross drainage structure, if the width of the stream or river to be crossed is more than 6 meters, the structure is called a minor bridge, and if the length of the crossing is more than 60 meters, it is called a major bridge.